Housing confidence is the highest it's been in many years, just came out. Manufacturing, the highest level of confidence they've had since they started doing it many years ago. And business, it has the highest level of confidence.
In fact, the latest statistic on housing confirms what's been a trend. Existing home sales hitting a better than decade high in the month of November to real estate expert Jason Meister, market watcher Alan Nuckman. Alan, anything you begin with you. Do you still see that continuing, the real estate stuff?
I'm not so sure about real estate. I'm just focused on the markets. We talked so much in the last few weeks about this tax deal, and now that it's done, we can look forward. Let's talk about the buybacks. Let's let the buybacks begin, and being a market bull, I think that's going to be the next catalyst.
You think that's what's going to happen? We'll see a lot of buybacks here.
That's going to be the prescription. These companies are going to put this to work for their, and help their shareholders, and that's the next catalyst for the markets. And so you look at Pfizer; they already announced $10 billion buyback, and it's just beginning. But what's interesting that's actually happening with the tax rates coming down. Right now, the effective tax that most S&P companies are charged is about 24%. So that's going to increase their earnings. Now we're bringing it back down to 21%. Net, what that's going to do is lower the PE ratio and make stocks that much cheaper because earnings are going to continue to climb higher.
Yeah, I understand, but a lot of folks are saying it's already reflected. You don't think it is?
I don't think so. I think it's going to allow us to focus on what's truly driving the markets. Let's remember, 5 years. We've seen this market move up 90% in the S&P from 1,400 to 2,700. So it's been a straight up move. This is only going to give it a little bit more oomph.
Jason, let's talk a little bit about real estate then and the fear. And I've talked to those who are in hot pockets where they're seeing certainly a good deal of activity, but worried now with limits on how much mortgage interest you can write off and real estate taxes you can write off, to say nothing of state and local taxes, that it could be very bifurcated, that high tax, high property tax states and state and the local sales tax states, they're going to be hurt. Lower ones, not so much. But for real estate, not great. What do you say?
Neil, I agree with you. Real estate is local, as you know. But the economy is firing on all cylinders. You have a consumer confidence at a 17-year high. You have unemployment at an 11-year low. And people pay for homes with their jobs. Now, I want to get back to something you just said. I think we have to look at local real estate markets. Markets in the blue states, in the coastal blue states like New York, New Jersey, California, Connecticut. I think those states are going to suffer from this. I think that high earners in those states that don't need to be in those states, live and work in those states, are going to migrate to states that don't heavily tax and spend less money. I think that this really forces those blue states to become fiscally responsible, which they're not. Or they're going to lose voters. And I think that this was a very political move, and I think it was a good move.
It might be, but I'm in New Jersey. It's a very high tax state. I think the only thing that's keeping me there for the time being are my kids. They go to school there. They're too young to yank out of there. They seem to like their school. They like their friends. Whatever. All right, but if I had my druthers based on math, I would say no. But I'm wondering those whose kids are older or whatever, and they're not in that situation. I can't imagine the math working in their favor to just stick around.
I think there's going to be a migration. I think it could be potentially a mass migration. I think the beneficiaries are housing markets in Florida and states that are less tax.
Like Texas, that kind
exactly.
of right? Yeah, that's very interesting. When I'm looking at all of this, Alan, I'm saying that I understand there are winners, and I understand as well that whatever the real estate industry might be feeling, if the wind at the back of everybody is an improving economy and markets, you can iron all this out. Is that your sense that these individual issues notwithstanding, and I'm not saying real estate is just an individual issue or sector, that net all good for the economy, all good for the general markets?
I think this was a historic, monumental move. I think it's going to be great for America. I think it's going to bring jobs back to this country. It's going to make us more competitive. And I think that net, while there are some losers as far as these blue coastal states and their housing markets, I think net, it's a very positive thing for this country.
Well, Alan, you were long before ahead on this positive trend. I mean, I'm talking thousands of
Optimistic.
Dow points. Yes, optimistic. But you're young, you're naive, so you still have time. So I'm kidding. But do you get a sense now that this continues, or that more money's plowed into this market, more deals are made? I particularly am curious what happens with this money that gets repatriated back home, presumably. This is their chance to bring home trillions. What are they going to do with it?
They're going to buy back stock. It's that simple. So if you're a stock investor, keep your eyes focused on the ball. The trend continues. For the whole overall economy, how much of an impact it has, that's the million-dollar question. But let's focus on what we look at here, price. The price is going to continue to perform. And I was just looking at some of these S&P numbers, and we're having a great year in 2017, up 20%. That's fantastic. But you know, we've had much better years. And if you go back to 2013, it was 32%, 2009, 26%. And it look even further back between 1995 and 1999, the 5 years, it outperformed this year each and every year. So this can be sustained. This can continue. Just because we're at a high level doesn't mean we can't go higher. Again, corporations are doing very well, and that equation has not changed at all. Are you going to put your money in the safety of treasuries, or are you going to look at the stock market yield? It's not even a question. It's not even close. Until it gets to be a decision, the stock market's still the choice for yield.
Yeah, but, you know, we haven't had that even 5%, correction, whatever you want to call it, in 18 months?
Right. There's money on the sidelines that's going to continue to flow in. You know, it's just a natural part of people's life. They take X amount of money, add it to the market with their 401ks or whatever their programs are every month. It just gets fed into the market, and money has to flow somewhere. And right now, it's in the stock market.
Jason, this is a simple, actually simplistic question on my part, but you're used to that over the years. If you had a choice between getting to pounce on a lot of stocks or to buy a house, what would you do?
I would actually buy a lot of stocks. I think that the economy is growing. I think that the stock market is going to benefit from that significantly. I think, as your other guest was just saying, there's a lot of runway in that market.
So you're a real estate guy, and you wouldn't buy real estate?
I wouldn't buy real.
I'm looking at a house.
I'd buy both, but I think that the stock market is a place where I'd love to invest a lot more money right now.
Alan, what were you saying?
I'm a buyer.
Alan.
I'm looking at a house. I mean, so you've got interest rates.
Where are you looking at it? You don't have to give the
low.
exact town. What state?
Michigan.
Okay.
A nice little lake house in Upper Michigan, where I'm from. It's very inexpensive, and you talked about the mass migration. People are moving because of choice, and a lot of people obviously move to the southern states for the temperature as the population gets older, and there's a lot of people moving to Arizona from Chicago and so forth. So I don't think it's an economic decision for a few percentage point difference in the tax rate. Yes, people complain about it, but whether they actually pick up and pack their things and take everything and move, that's a whole other question that I don't think is going to happen anytime soon.
You do realize, Alan, that Michigan is pretty cold in the wintertime, right? You're okay with that?
Yeah, that's where I grew up. We used to get 300 inches of snow a year. So, Chicago is balmy. This is beautiful weather here.
All right. Thank you guys very, very much. Well, I guess it's always your perspective. That's what's going to win out here.